Hey, Virgo, Madeline here to talk about your astrology for the month of May and give you a report. And May is a big month. We're going to have Saturn changing signs from Pisces, from your seventh house, into your eighth house. So Virgos would have been working very hard in shifting and restructuring relationships. And let's go ahead and share the notes. And you would have been wrapping up. Actually, let's stop the share. I like to do it this way. You would have been wrapping up a 30-year karmic cycle in relationships. What does that mean? That basically means you could either be ending a relationship or ending a series of types of relationships. And now you've transformed from Saturn there into a person who's ready for a serious relationship. So sometimes it can play out that you get into a serious relationship with Saturn in your seventh and you commit, or you become transformed and turned into relationship material and end karmic cycles of being in relationships that are not your true divine spiritual counterpart. We had Venus there in the North Node there. There's a good chance you're aligning with your true divine mate. And then we have Saturn moving into the eighth, where you restructure your finances and you become co-collaborative in joint resources. But if you're going through a divorce, you could be dissolving your joint resources. But let's go ahead and start with the sun in your ninth house. That puts a lot of focus. Plus, we just had a new moon in your ninth house in April. So that puts a lot of focus on learning something, higher consciousness, knowledge. It's in the energy of Taurus. So it might have been a healing modality or wanting to learn something about health. Um, but the ninth house it could be traveling. It could be that you want to initiate a new course in going to university, going to college, or you could become a teacher. You've mastered something, you know something, so now you teach it. These are new beginnings. But then we've got the sun moving into your 10th house. So this new idea, this new beginning that came in on that new moon, exalted new moon in Taurus, now turns into something that into Gemini that you want to inform other people about, bring it out into the world, turn it into a career opportunity, or sell it, or you become promoted now because you know more, you've learned something more, or you're initiating a new um, mastery or knowledge that makes you that enables you now to be qualified for a higher position in your work. The sun moves from the ninth where you're learning something to the 10th where it increases your knowledge and can increase your income or your position in work. Um, then we have Mercury in your eighth house in the sign of Aries, um, up until the mid of May. And mid-May is when we're going to really feel things moving forward because both Mercury and Venus will be out of shadow. So things really feel active and going forward as far as all things Venus, which would be relationships, joint resources in your eighth house. You could be meeting someone there, and it's a very intense connection, deep, passionate connection as a result of having cleared up your karma in your seventh house of relationships. And now you're really ready for another more very intimate, connected soul counterpart. But again, this would involve joint resources and hidden assets coming together. But it can just basically it's expansion, and it can mean clients and financial partnerships in general too. And then you have Mars in your 12th house, which is really inspiring and driving you to either travel or resolve a conflict in relationships or study and learn a lot because this connects to the ninth house. So you could be really putting yourself in a, shall we say, a hermit mode because the 12th house is going, it could be out in the country or having time alone to really investigate and to really deepen the knowledge around something and become more adept at it. And then with Jupiter in your 10th house, your career or your notoriety or your public, how you're seen publicly expands. Sometimes it's a relationship. You could, if you're feminine, Jupiter is your man. You could meet your true person after that karma clearing in your seventh, and you now become engaged or committed in a committed situation. Your status changes from single to married, but also just basically promotion in your work, knowing more, becoming very knowledgeable because it's in the sign of Gemini. So there's a lot of like increased knowledge that can support your career to be promoted to position. Or if you're running your own business, you can gain more clients and notoriety around what you do. And then this is the big transit of Saturn into the 8th from the 7th, where you've really cleared a major, you would have done a lot of hard work in your relationships where you've had to, if you're in a committed relationship, you would have had some struggles with that relationship, but you're restructuring the dynamics of the relationship so that it can last a 30-year, another 29 years, or you're ending a relationship, or you've been single and working on healing karmic codependent issues or the pattern of being in codependent or karmic relationships. Now you're sort of cooked and healed and ready to get into a true soul destined joint soul contract relationship. And then Saturn in your 8th house, you restructure your finances involving this person and you co-collaborate, you invest in things together, property, real estate, businesses, or your partner, if you're in a committed relationship, your partner, when Saturn passes the 8th, your partner could be out of money, could be without money. And so then you are the sole source income. But that means you instigate a very sound income, new structure around your own income that becomes stable, that stabilizes your income. But through that process of Saturn in your 8th, you create a very long-term, stable financial, I would say, reliable source of income. It becomes stable. I'm not going to talk about the outer planets because they're going to shift soon, and I'm going to go more into that when they do. But I will mention that Pluto in retrograde in your 6th house will make you go back and you could, if for instance you're alcoholic and you're drinking, then that could be a bottom out, and you have to, or let's say you quit drinking, you quit something, then you have a slip with a retrograde, you got to go back, you got to do the steps over. For instance, if you're in a 12-step program, you got to do the steps over again. Or let's just say you become, some illness pops back up again that needs more work around, needs more healing around, and you have to go back and do more work on something involved, that because Pluto in your 6th is going to show you that you can take your power around your health, that you have power around your health. So some kind of health issues could show up in that retrograde motion where you have to go back and find where you're giving your power away in some way that creates health problems. And it can often be addictions or quitting something, can just be quitting sugar. I quit sugar with Pluto in my 6th. It was really hard because my whole life I think I ate sugar. I don't even know how I'm alive. I just lived on sugar, but I've really cleaned that up, and then my health has been improving ever since. So these 6th house transits really create, because it's on the bottom of the horizon, it's under the horizon line, so it's fixing you before you enter before you become of high service out into the world. So it's preparing you for that. So then you have the North Node in your 7th house, which indicates again that you're in some sort of relationship or collaborative partnership where you're taking your soul contract forward with another person, your destiny, your dharma, a true calling that you're here to do, to really step into, that most likely will involve a partnership agreement, most likely marriage, romantic. I know I had my nodes in the 7th when I got involved in building projects with my ex-husband. So then we have this full moon in the 3rd house in Scorpio, which is triggering, which could cause an upset, perhaps even moving location, or upset with neighbors or close people around you, siblings, relatives, causing a triggered paranoia reaction. But it does transform you and cause you to take some sort of action that liberates you, and you feel freed of this undercurrent problem, because usually when it's Scorpio, it's been there undercurrent anyway, but now it comes up and it's cleared. It's a full moon. There's communication, perhaps a conflict or arguments, but we're getting clearing of this. There's a transformation around this. Then you're liberated and you're higher frequency, and this fear is no longer a part of your life. So it works out in the end. And then that new moon in your 10th house is a very powerful new moon. It is about information, knowledge, media, communication, and it is very much maybe perhaps about selling too. So some kind of a new beginning occurring, most likely in relation to that new moon that you learned in Taurus, some kind of new information or knowledge that helped you understand the importance of a career opportunity or educated you, enabling you to step into a new opportunity that advances your career and puts you back into or increases your public presence, and you become a source of knowledge around this. And you are spreading knowledge around something that is connected to your Dharma. So this was a brief explanation as to what is going on in May for Virgo. If you want a more personal reading and to go through all of these in a more in-depth way, do feel free to contact me for a reading. And do like and subscribe and leave a comment, ask a question if you like. And thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful night. Namaste.